Our guest today on Catching Up is Kayla Reilly. She's the BlueClaws Director of Events and Operations, and she was in charge the night of the Lights Out delay, one of the great moments in BlueClaws history 4 years ago today, July 3rd, 2016. Kayla's back. She's our guest. Kayla, welcome. How are you?
Hi, Greg. Thanks for having me today.
So let's go back 4 years. I guess first, what do you remember most about that night 4 years ago?
What do I remember most? I think probably my first memory is the amount I cried, and then how I thought everyone was going to be really mad at me, but they weren't. So everyone was kind of supported me through my crying, my 21 minutes of crying. Um, they pulled me out of it and tried to see the plus side of it, which I'm not sure if there was many, but there were a few.
So basically that night, Kayla was in charge of turning the lights out for the post-game fireworks show. Now, it was July 3rd, of course, and it was the biggest crowd of the season and getting set for the biggest fireworks show of the season. So take us –
the largest crowd in like the last 5 years that year.
Yeah. So take us through, those few minutes there. What happened?
Absolutely. So, like you said, it was, the largest crowd we had in years. And definitely that season was the largest crowd that we had. It was well sold out, and it was a crazy night. And I remember myself and my boss at the time, Steve Fargo, we were running around crazy all night. I directly oversee all of our game day staff, or I was at the time. I directly oversaw all of them. So I was pretty much just running around in circles, just making sure they were all good, making sure the fans were good. And we also oversaw all stadium operations throughout the facility. So, checking bathrooms. I'm pretty sure I was voting chicken tenders that night too somehow. So, because the lines were crazy long. And I just remember it was after the seventh inning, which is usually when, things start to quiet down a little bit, especially during a fireworks night. So seventh inning, usually when we do the clear out, we clear out the berms. Back then, when there was we only had the rat trap back in center field. So we had Kayla's clear out or Kayla's kick out. It was Kayla's kick out. We, called everyone over the radio, had everyone help move all the fans off the berm so we can get ready for fireworks. One of my favorite parts was using the flag crank and taking the flags down every night, which I think Steve was totally fine with letting me do. I was actually very excited to take the flags down every night. Don't know why, but that was my job. So did that, and then it was finally break time. So I waited in line and got Mr. Miyagi, which was, and probably still is, my favorite food in the ballpark. And I remember I got the chicken, I think it was chicken and shrimp bowl. So I got it, brought it back to my desk. It was probably around top of the eighth inning at this point.
The desk that you're sitting in right now?
Same desk, different spot.
Oh, different office. Okay.
Office, but surprisingly the same desk. And I was eating my Miyagi, and it's probably more middle of the eighth. So I'm getting ready, and getting ready for fireworks means I log into my show control. And show control is the internet system that controls all our lights. So for those of you that don't know, the field lights here are run from a computer, and it's also done on an app. So literally an app on my phone, I log in and can turn the lights on and off. But on fireworks nights, since we have to time them pretty much perfectly with the production and the guy out in center field lighting up the fireworks, we do it all on the computer because it's a little easier, a little more exact. I think there was a little bit less of a lag time too. So that's what we would do on fireworks nights. We'd get it all queued up, and there was about 3 or 4 steps to turning off the lights. You'd go in and you'd press turn off lights, and then be like, turn off lights immediately. And then it says, are you sure you want to turn off the lights? So part of the process was you would go through the first 2 steps and wait there and just refresh until we were ready. And
Because you only want to have to click it once because it's got to be timed up with everything.
Yep, exactly. So I think it was the top of the 9th inning at this point. I'm logged in. I decide to do my first 2 steps, and I do it. I'm eating my Miyagi. And this was probably, I don't even know. I probably lost count at that point. I had done this so many times. It was like second nature to me.
Yeah.
So I sat down, did it, and then eating my Miyagi, and I went to go hit refresh, and it would not refresh. So at that point, my heart sank, and I was like, "Oh, that's weird. Like that never happens." And at that same exact time, our general manager at the time walked into the office, and said, "What just happened?" And then I had my earpiece in. People were freaking out on the radio. And in that moment, I knew that I had turned the lights out while the game was still in play. So where my desk was at that point was right next to the door into our office. And my friend, whose cubicle was right outside my office, Fred Baldwin, he turned around and looked at me, and I had no windows in my office at the time. And he looked at me, I looked at him, and I was like, did the lights just go out? And he looked out the window, looked back at me, and just nodded his head. And immediately tears I'm a very emotional person as it is. So that's my fight or flight reaction, is just tears. So then the GM runs into the office, and my boss, Steve, runs in, of course, questioning what just happened. And in between cries, I tried to explain that I was getting ready and refreshed. I went one step too far into the process of getting ready. And I found out that it was the middle of the 9th inning, and they were actually we were switching teams. So I believe the BlueClaws were walking up to bat, and the pitcher was literally, for the other team, was running up to the mound to get ready. Needless to say, pretty sure that the manager for the BlueClaws, Sean Williams, pretty sure he might have hated me that night. He quickly got over it, I think, maybe. I like to tell myself he did. So anyway, then I ran and hid in the promo room with my dear friend Jamie Stone, because there was nothing that we could do for 21 minutes while the lights were cooling down, because once you turn them off, they have to cool down in order for them to heat back up and turn back on again. So it was a long 21 minutes.
You shortchanged yourself. In the official box score, it says 23 minutes.
Oh, sorry, 23.
So I was on the radio that night, as always, with Tony Graham, and we're up in the press box, and we're in a commercial break. Which this part was very good, because it could have been worse if it was mid inning, or while the batter was in the box, or God forbid while the pitch was being thrown. So we're in commercial break, and we have we hear the radio station in our headsets, and we look out into the stadium, and suddenly everything goes blank. So your first thought is power outage, but then when you give it 2 or 3 seconds, you realize, well, if it was a power outage, we wouldn't be able to hear the commercials in our headset. We wouldn't have the lights in the press box wouldn't still be on. The lights on the concourse wouldn't still be on. But when all the lights in the stadium go out at the snap of a finger, it's a little jarring. So it took a few seconds, and then we realized that the lights went out. Now we had no idea how, why, it could have been and for any reason they could have went out. We didn't know what happened. I didn't even find out what happened until until the next morning. So the BlueClaws were losing at the time 4-3, and the closer for Greensboro, C.J. Robinson, who was he had a really nice year for them. He's jogging in from the bullpen, and that's when everything went out. So it was a 23-minute delay officially, and I think they ended up giving you credit, right? Deserved credit for an extra couple of grand in concessions revenue. Is that right? What was the exact number?
It was a very small number, but I think the next week our Bernie Miller, our head of accounting at the time, we went back. I needed to find some type of light out of literally the darkness. So
Yeah.
we went back and ended up finding out that during that 23 minutes where we normally would have been closing up everything, we did make warm up, and people were, might as well get some food, might as well get some snacks, as there's something else to do. So it was a little bit extra money. I don't know if it, canceled out probably the cost of the lights from turning them off.
Yeah, it must have done that.
But,
now, the fireworks crew, they're stationed out in center field. At the time, it was the Rat Trap. Now it's the Home Run Pavilion. So they're in center field. Their cue to shoot the fireworks off is the lights going out. Was that a concern of yours, or was it, or you didn't even have enough time to put two and two together?
that was not a concern of mine. Now looking back, of course, it was. I'm sure that was probably the first thing on my boss's mind. But on mine, I was just just more so mortified that I did something wrong, um, at that level of wrong, of a mess up. So I did not think about that. That would have just been another, cherry on top of the entire evening.
Well, one of the other great moments in BlueClaws history was when, under the direction of Jeff Brown in 2007, July of 2007, July 6th, they shot off fireworks during a rain delay in the bottom of the 8th inning. Basically, in that case, they asked for permission from like 8 people to shoot them off. They were hoping for one yes. Nobody said yes, and they shot them off anyway. I understand that one. It was going to be like a legit hour delay because it had poured so much, and there were 3 outs to get. They didn't want to make people wait around for an hour while they got the field ready. We could talk about that, and that'll be a later episode of great moments in BlueClaws history. So, the other thing that I remember about that night was in the because it was the big show of the year, the July 3rd show, you had a lot of people who wanted to watch the fireworks but didn't come to the game. They would go to the Quick Check parking lot across the street, and they would camp out there. And after the lights went out in the ensuing 2 or 3 minutes, we got 3 or 4 tweets and Facebook messages from people that were in the parking lot of Quick Check and thought that there was some kind of issue with the fireworks because they weren't watching the game, so they didn't realize that the game wasn't over. They just saw the lights go out, and they thought when the lights went out, the fireworks were supposed to go off. Now, obviously, they should have been listening to the game on the radio, but that's their mistake.
Bought tickets to the game, so that's where they really messed up. And it wasn't me. If they should have bought tickets to the game, they could have, experienced this once in a lifetime 23-minute light delay.
How many times had you gone through this process before?
I've mentioned it before, probably lost count. I mean, I started doing it. I was an intern in 2015. So I would say sometime during that summer was when I was taught how to do it. And then in the beginning of, we started in April of 2016. So however many Friday night shows we did that year.
So we had a few more fireworks shows the rest of that summer. Did you?
I was not allowed.
Not allowed, or you just moved aside?
Probably a mix of both. I definitely, I started letting my assistant at the time, I just let him start doing it. It was a combo of him and Steve. He kind of took over, and that was it. I might have done it one more time that season. I don't remember, but
Have you done it at all since?
I haven't. So I actually, just for this, I left in right before the 2017 season. Was gone for 3 years. Just came back in January of 2020. So no, now that we're in July and you know
We've
no
had
one,
no games.
no games so far here. Haven't been able to redeem myself officially. Everyone keeps joking that tonight, July 3rd, that tonight will be my comeback night, but not sure. I'm actually like sweaty thinking about it, so I don't
Well,
know.
that was my next question. Are you going to do the one tonight?
You know, Greg, only time will tell.
I think the fans want to give you an opportunity here.
I don't know. We'll have to maybe take a vote or something.
I mean, this show will this show is probably going to be, all things considered, because it doesn't follow a BlueClaws game, and it'll be longer in length, bigger in terms of the quality, the height of the fireworks. This is possible that this is going to be the biggest fireworks show ever to take place here at First Energy Park. So it would be, there's no better opportunity for you to step in and redeem yourself.
We'll have to let the viewers decide, Greg. You know?
Yeah.
If they want to see Kayla Reilly turn off the lights tonight, we'll give them what they want. Otherwise, Kevin Fenstermacher might be doing it.
Yeah. All right. So what happened in the days after the incident? How long did it take you to kind of like calm down and get back to normal here?
At least about a week. I think we had off July 4th, and the Asbury Park Press had put out an article about how we lost power that night. It was so crazy. We lost power.
Yeah, the actual headline is BlueClaws Stadium lose power and 4-3 loss to Greensboro. That's the headline.
So someone had sent me that article to my email and said, we all mess up sometimes. At least you messed up pretty big to where you'll look back at this and it'll be a little bit of a growing pain. But yeah, I would say in the next week, people kind of like made jokes about it. I was the butt of a couple jokes. But I came back from it.
Now do you have the gift that we got you?
I do, Greg. It followed me from I actually had it at my desk at the Prudential Center with the Devils. It was a nice little conversation piece.
Oh, I'm sure, yeah.
Because of course, when you have a light switch cover covered in signatures or scribbles,
so
it's a great conversation piece.
So the signatures on there include a few from our staff. Sean Williams, who was the BlueClaws manager, I believe Grenny Kumana signed it. He was the leadoff hitter for no, it wasn't Grenny Kumana. It was, or maybe it was Grenny Kumana. He was the leadoff hitter. It was, right? Yeah. He pinch hit. Yep. I'm looking at the box score here. He pinch hit. He was the leadoff batter in the bottom of the ninth inning. The Greensboro manager, Kevin Randell, he signed it as well, and a few others. So that's a good piece.
Taka, right there.
Taka was the trainer.
Scott Smith,
strength coach.
Of course, Jim D. Got Jim D on here because he was at the info booth, which is the number one spot to go if you have questions. We got my friend Fred Baldwin here, who the first person to see me cry that evening. Russ Schaefer, who was the home clubhouse manager at the time. And then, we got, and you. Look at this.
And me, yeah.
This nice little squiggle right here is you.
There we go. Did we get the umpires? I know we tried. We might not have been able to get them.
Umpires are just too hard to follow, so I don't think we got
So
those.
it was quite the story. 4 years ago tonight, how time flies.
Greg, I also used this story in my interview with the Devils when they asked me, about something that I overcame, a struggle I overcame in the workplace. And I willingly told them this story multiple times, and they still hired me. So, and
Well, they don't shoot fireworks off there
and,
indoors.
and the BlueClaws brought me back after 3 years. So,
Look, it might have been tough that one night, but now you have a story that you can tell for the rest of your life,
exactly.
and you can show them this video,
And I have this light switch cover.
and you have the light switch cover. So, 4 years ago today, July 3rd, 2016, a 23-minute lights out delay before the bottom of the ninth inning. BlueClaws and the Greensboro Grasshoppers. Greensboro won the game 4-3 after the delay, while the Greensboro pitcher was jogging in, which is when the lights actually went out. Granny Kumana struck out, Zach Coppola grounded out, and Carlos Duran grounded out, and the BlueClaws lost the game 4-3. The attendance that night was 10,011. 10,011. It's one of only, I believe, 5 crowds of 10,000 in First Energy Park history, and they went home with an amazing story the night the lights went out in the ninth inning. Kayla, thank you.
You're welcome, Greg. Happy to be here. Awesome to be back.
Have a great holiday, great 4th of July, and we will see.
Maybe I'll see you tonight.
Maybe.
Possible.
I
I heard we're doing fireworks tonight.
We might be, yeah. But we're sold out, though, so you can't. For those, the viewers can't just show up and watch them. We're already sold out. So, have a great day, everybody. Have a happy 4th, and we'll see you soon. Thanks, Kayla. And this has been Catching Up, the BlueClaws.